All right, welcome in. Mostly Hokies. We took a few months off, took a much needed break throughout the spring and summer. We were all pretty involved on like Twitter and whatnot, but as far as the podcast stuff, we took a little time off. But we're looking to get back into it. We're gonna do one now. Probably shoot for one or two in July, and then once August rolls around, we're gonna try to get back to weekly. But right off the bat here, we got big news on the podcast. Our guy Jacob has gotten on with 247, and it's a contributor for them. Why don't you talk about that for a second, Jacob? We're so happy for you. We're so excited for you.
Yeah, so I happen to be pretty good friends with Colby. Know everybody loved him. So it was pretty crazy to step in and kind of take over some of the stuff that he was doing. But I was able to get up with Evan that runs everything up there and did a little bit of an interview with him. Worked out. He said, bring you in, do some work with us. So I've been writing a few articles here and there, doing some podcasting with them. And then I've been covering like prospect camps and stuff when the recruits come to town. And so that's been pretty fun, just kind of keeping people updated on those. You know, people love to get the inside information, get the inside scoop if they can. So if you guys do want to check it out, a lot of articles on the page, on the 24/7 on the VT Scoop boards. I plan on doing a whole lot more writing in July than I have so far. Going to be doing a little bit of a breakdown for each and every game they play this year. And so that should be the next big thing I come out with. And then got these guys to kind of ask for a couple things too. Got some basketball talk I want to do. Know Coach Ferg down there, awesome with the basketball, loves that. So I might ask for some advice on that too, because I'm gonna write a couple articles about both men's and women's basketball. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun with it, and obviously just trying to carry on with the crazy dream of being in the sports world.
Hey man, I don't know shit. Got a lot of opinions, so
Yeah.
anytime you need an opinion, I'm your guy. Yeah, so let's go on basketball. We've had some big transfer portal additions. I'll let y'all roll with that. I know Blake's been all over it.
Yeah, man. Obviously, being a basketball guy, I don't know if we've even talked since I won a state championship this year for high school basketball. So it's been a slow season for me, so I'm excited to get going. I got a couple notes here. Obviously, we got our big three back. I think that was huge. I think obviously they said, hey, this is our budget. This is our priority. Let's keep Ben Hammond, Amani Hansbury, Tyler Johnson. Obviously, we all wanted to keep Gerdak, but financially, obviously, whatever we pitched him wasn't good enough, and Rutgers paid him a little bit more. I fully believe with the relationship with Mike Young that he said, let us try to match whatever you get. And I bet we just couldn't match what Rutgers was throwing at him. And I hate to lose him, but if we only got to lose one, I'd rather it be him than these other three. They've brought in some good pieces around them. Hopefully, I like what we have. Personally, I think we'd have to survive injuries, which we didn't this past year, to make a run. But if everybody stays healthy, I like what they got. So coming in, we got Isaiah Elohim coming from, where's he coming from? FAU?
Yeah, coming from Fort Atlantic. Yep.
Whoa, not the only person we got coming from FAU, right? That's what I said, coming from FAU, right? Hold up. I thought I was getting my wires crossed for a second. But yeah, we got somebody else coming there, big AD. He averaged 12 points a game, 4.2 boards, and I think is going to start right off the rip at the wing. You know, he's a big guard, which is always nice. You could start him at the 2 or the 3, in my opinion. He's not as strong as Tyler Johnson, who can also slide down to the 4 when you need him, but I think he's going to start right off the bat at the wing. I really like Jalen Curry from Oklahoma State, but he's a small guard. You know, Ben Hammond's going to start. I don't know if we can start 2 small guards. We might, depending on the team we're playing in their lineup, but those are 2 good guards. Jalen Curry averaged 10 points a game, 3.5 assists, and 3 rebounds per game. He, in my opinion, might be our best proven. I think he is our best proven transfer that we got at a guard. He can also play that backup point guard spot as well as a shooting guard spot when we do go small. Next up, I really like Cool Attack or Attack, however you say his name, from Oklahoma. 7 points per game, 1.3 rebounds. Didn't get a lot of minutes for him. I mean, it was like 14 to 18 minutes. It was like really really small sample size, but he shot over 40% from three. He's 6'8", 6'9", wing that can play the 3 and the 4. And I really think if you give him more minutes, he's going to be a really good player. And he's young. He was redshirt freshman last year. So you remember Jacob?
They have him listed as a sophomore, so I assume he's going to come in as a redshirt freshman, redshirt sophomore, something in that range, with a lot of eligibility left.
Yeah, really like his game. He can catch and shoot. He can get to the rack, which he probably needs to work on more, but he's got a couple finishes dunking on some guys in the paint. A lot of range. I personally have him either starting at the 4 or when we start Armani at the 4, him being the backup. So that's kind of where I got him in that range, because I still think getting our best 5 on the 4 would be Armani still starting at center. But if he's not and you slide Armani up to the 4, you got guys like Miles Heide, from San Diego State, 5.6 points, 4.5 rebounds. He's a bouncy 6'9" white guy at San Diego State. I like his game. I think he'll definitely give us some depth down there. Musa Sagnia from NC State, 6'10". He was a freshman as well, 2.3 points, 2.8 rebounds. I can see him in ACC play. Hopefully we develop him the way we need him to, because we need to start him in his size in ACC play. If not, Armani will start down, and then you still got some good size with Heide and Sagnia down low. You got Ethan Copeland coming in from Stetson, 15 points a game, 6'2" shooter. I think, I'm excited for Hunter Couture to work with this guy. It looks like he's a really good shooter, high percentage. We'll see if he gets the same points or minutes. He could be a guy that gets buried and doesn't play it at all here at this level, but he could be a guy come in and really get some threes up for us. You question, at 6'2", in college basketball, that's not that big. So can he defend? He's white like me. So can he defend at a Division I ACC level is probably my biggest question mark, but I really like his shooting percentage. Ned Hull, Hull, Hull comes in. He's 4.5 points a game. He was at Elon. Another guy can shoot a little bit, start as a walk on there, develop, got some good playing time, hit some shots versus us this year. I really like, and I'm probably going to butcher his name, the only freshman we had coming in, El Tayab, 6'8". Really like his game. I was texting you guys earlier in the week. I just happened to be watching some film, and I'm like, man, this guy's a 3-way scorer. He can really shoot the 3, really athletic, get out in transition, dunk on you, finish around the rack, has a smooth pull-up game, really good guard skills at 6'8". So this is a guy who, I feel like this year Sincere Jones was our best freshman, even though he got hurt, but he was actually getting a little bit of playing time. The year before, you had Ben Hammond and Tyler Johnson. I think this guy's going to get those kind of minutes, at least the Sincere Jones minutes this year, but I think he's better than that. So I think he could get a few more minutes than that. See if I missed anybody in there. I don't think I missed anyone, but those are the transfers and the freshmen we got coming in. We still got Sincere Jones and Solomon Davis, who redshirted last year. But overall, I think it's a really good lineup for me, 1 through 5. I got Ben Hammond, Isaiah Elohim, Tyler Johnson, Kulatok and Amani Hansberry starting as the top 5. First 3 off the bench: Jalen Curry, Musa, and Heide. So I would, that's the first 8. I think we could go a little bit deeper if Ethan Copeland can defend, would be 9. And then El Tayab, I think he could, in my opinion, he's top 10. Will we play 10 guys? Didn't see that much this year, but I think he could steal some minutes. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, I think that you look at this lineup, and to me, maybe you're not saying that this is the most talented team overall compared to last year. Maybe you are arguing that it is, because there is a lot of talent coming in. But I think that this roster seems to be built more like a Mike Young style of basketball team. This doesn't have that superstar player that's going to have the ball in his hand the entire game. And I'm glad we took the shot on Neil Dallas. I'm glad we took the chance, and that you try to swing for the fences. You just completely missed, and it didn't work out for you. But you have to take those kinds of chances when you can get that kind of player. And now he's gone back to what he knows best, and that is to get a team full of shooters that 1 through 5, whatever lineup we run out there, they're going to be able to shoot the basketball. You saw Ben Hammond vastly improve his game at the three-point line It was a guy that I trusted to shoot those last-minute threes late in the game. And you know how good Hansberry can be from the three-point line, and you know how much trust Mike Young has in him at the three-point line. Tyler Johnson, prior to that injury, shooting over 40% from the three-point line. So there is shooters galore on this team, and that is exactly what Mike Young has thrived with in the past. I think that's kind of the type of team they've tried to build here, is just go out and get as much depth that could come off the bench, hit a three for you, defend a little bit here and there. I like the length that they added, but then they also try to grab some rebounders. You kind of talked about Miles Heide, and I think Heide is maybe the guy that when we play some of these teams that's expected to out-rebound us, he's going to get more minutes. This is a guy that was one of the single best offensive rebounders in all of college basketball last year, one of the single best. So he is going to help you get extra possessions in games. It's going to allow you to play Hansberry at the 4, where I think defensively he matches up better against a lot of 4s than he does against those 5s that just usually outsize him in the paint. And so that's the kind of guy that can maybe help out whenever you face these bigger teams that is just way better at rebounding than you are. And then, like you said before, you've got a guy like Musa Sanya that can come off the bench, that can give you rebounding. And maybe he's not going to be a huge contributor for this team. He doesn't seem to really have his game fully developed yet. But it's not like he can't come in here and develop that game. And then he could be a really nice piece, because overall, I felt like last year there was times we desperately needed backup big man depth. And it's not that Gerdak wasn't providing that, but it's just we didn't have anybody behind him. And it was if Hansberry started at the 4 and Gerdak at the 5, you were in big trouble if one of those guys got in foul trouble. So I'm glad that they attacked size in the portal and tried to grab a couple centers that maybe are just big bodies or good rebounders that can help out in those moments. And then, of course, I think Cole Attack has a chance to be one of our best players off the bench, and that maybe is projecting him to have a much better season. But in those 12 minutes per game, he was averaging 7 points, shooting 41% from 3, while shooting almost 5 threes a game. So when he was coming in, he was immediately getting the ball and letting it fly. And I think some of that was maybe Oklahoma not trusting him because he was a redshirt freshman. And some of that may have been just malpractice from a coach. If you got a guy shooting 41%, you might want to give him some more minutes. You might want to give him a chance to break out and be even better for you. I think that size is kind of a worry with him. He's only 190 pounds. If you're 6'8", 6'9", and you're down there with the trees at 190 pounds, you're going to be in trouble. So maybe they want him to put on some weight. But if he's able to do that, that's a guy I absolutely could see in the starting lineup and could be a really effective piece for a Mike Young offense. And just overall, I think you mentioned it with Curry and Elohim. Those are guys that are both experienced guards that will give us the ability to trust someone else. That Ben Hammond doesn't necessarily always have to be the guy late in the game if he gets in some sort of foul trouble, because Ben Hammond, you know it as much as I do, loves to go for the steals. He is a guy that hawks the ball down, tries to make plays, and then sometimes gets himself in some foul trouble. So these guys, they can give him a break at the point guard position, but then a guy like Elohim can start right beside him and be an effective 2-guard, or in even some smaller lineups be that 3-guard. I just like that there's so much depth, there's so much potential, and then there's honestly a lot of guys that are a little bit older on this team. We grabbed quite a bit of guys that maybe have some college experience before, and we're not going to have to rely on these younger players, and maybe a guy like LTEB can step up and be very good in this offense, and maybe he does develop his game, but you don't have to. You don't have to throw him into the flames. If you want him to get better and develop on the bench as the season goes on and maybe play him in those 15, 20, 25-point blowout games that you're inevitably going to have, that's a really good moment to get him in the game, get him some experience. So I love how they build out the roster. I've been telling people all offseason, this just may be the optimism that we've all shared. I think this team could be better than last year's, and I think it could be a decent bit better than last year's. I think this should be basically a lock to make the tournament, and that's just because of the expanded field with the 76 teams. I can't see a way that this roster misses the tournament and things don't go severely wrong, like bad injuries or something happens with the coaching staff. I don't see how that this team could miss. It just is too much talent on paper, too many guys that have the ability to help you out off the bench for them to not be at least a good basketball team next year. And if you're a good basketball team in a 76-team field, you're making the tournament. So I think there's a lot of optimism for the Hokies. I don't know if they're going to be a team that goes out and dominates like we all thought they could at times last year, but I think they can actually hang around with teams. I think they're kind of underrated this year, and maybe they were a slight bit overrated last year because they had that superstar, and then they're underrated this year because not a lot of people know a lot of these guys. This is, if you don't pay attention to Virginia Tech basketball, you might not know some of these names. So I like the potential. I like that the team is built to work in our scheme a whole lot better. And I think last big point you made there was defense, because there was games last year where we just got run off the court because our defense couldn't stop anybody. And we didn't have a lot of bad defenders. I mean, a Jalen Bedford and some of those guys, strong defenders, it just so happened we had some liabilities on the defensive end. And so maybe some of these guys can help that out. I think overall, this could be a pretty good basketball team. And I think in a 68-team field, I'd feel pretty good about their chances to make the tournament, maybe not comfortably, but on that bubble.
My two off-season thoughts about basketball have been I saw a graphic, and I'm like 90% sure I'm remembering this right. I tried to pull it up, and I couldn't find it. But it showed that Virginia Tech is like top 5 in the conference in returning production, which I hate that we're in an era of college basketball where you can bring back basically 3 guys and be the top 5 in the conference in returning production. That is ridiculous. That should not be the case. And then my other thought is, obviously everything is going into football right now. Like, you can't. I don't know that I don't think this has been remedied yet. I don't think you can donate directly to basketball on the website right now. Like, everything is being poured into football. So my biggest thing for the fall, again, I don't know anything. I just have opinions. My biggest thing for the winter with basketball is I am just not going to have any expectations. If they do go out and win 20 games and make the tournament, great. If they win 12 games, great. I'm just going to have fun watching basketball. Now, what I don't want, what I do think this team is more set up to do is not lose games where you're up by 10 with 2 minutes left. Let's just not do that. If we're just gonna lose by 10, let's just be down 10 the whole time. If we're gonna win by 10 or 15, let's just be up 10 or 15 the whole time. If we're going to win some close ones, we're going to lose some close ones. Just let them be close. Fine, back and forth all game. You win some, you lose some, whatever. Oh, we just got beat by Duke. Like, Duke's really good. Oh, we kicked the shit out of Boston College. That's what we should have done. Great. Let's just not have, Stanford, Wake, SMU, all these games, list all 5 games that if they go how they should have, not even how they could have, how they should have gone, we'd have been like a 7 or 8 seed in the tournament versus missing the tournament. Like, let's just not do that. If we're gonna if we're gonna be bad enough to miss NIT, great. Whatever. We're all in on football. Basketball can come along later. But yeah, no, that's where I am. That's where I am with basketball. I'm gonna be watching. I'll be watching every game, but I'm not coming in expecting. There's been years. Shit, even last year, I was like, man, we could be like a 3 seed. Like, man, we're going to be so good. No, not this year. Nope, not doing it. Yeah, after we beat Providence? Oh, yeah, dude. We were, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, we were Sweet 16 at worst.
Yeah. No, after, hearing you guys, talk, I think Jacob's a little higher on Miles Heide than I am, but I like to hear that. I like the optimism. For me, he's come from San Diego State. He only averaged 5 and 4. I like him. I'm worried about his size because he got the minutes last year, and he at us mid-major only averaged 5 and 4. But I'm a little more high on guys like Musa Sagnia and Nkola Tok, guys who didn't get the minutes at a high level, and I'm like, man, you triple those minutes? Holy cow! Cool is averaging 21 if you triple his minutes. Musa Sagni is probably averaging 7 and 7 or something like that, So those are guys who I see that are freshmen, going to be sophomore, who are going to take that next step forward. And because we got 3 proven guys, Jalen Curry makes 4 proven guys. Isaiah Elohim, USC, FAU, he averaged 12.4 at FAU. I think that probably translates down to 8 or 9 maybe in the ACC, but he's a year older. Maybe that's 10 points a game. Give us 5 proven guys. I like that. And then we got some depth. I really like the depth piece. Again, we said defense, and can these guys stay healthy? If they can, we got a tournament team like we had this year if the field was expanded. The biggest thing I think is going to be Ben Hammond. We put the ball in his hands down the stretch, and he wasn't clutch. He wasn't hitting the free throws early. I felt like he really was hit those free throws late, but we still gave him the ball late. We're like, hey, this is our best player. Let's let him go win the game. He didn't do that, but I see him taking another step forward, and hopefully he'll be doing that this year. You know, we talk about guys a year older. Tyler Johnson, Ben Hammond, Amani Hansberry are all going to be a year older, so they're going to be better too. They're not just going to be the same. We got to get Hansberry healthy because I see these videos. It showed like a flash of him shooting free throws or something. He's definitely not playing 5-on-5 yet. But to see Tyler Johnson back out there, Ben Hammond's been steady Eddie. So I'm excited. We can move on, but I'm really excited about this roster. And again, I think this is an NCAA tournament team. I'm glad we're got some guys out of the system, out of here. I mean, Neo was awesome and sounded good. By the end of the season, none of us wanted him on the court. We're texting every game. We're like, why is he in the game right now? Finally, Mike Young figured that out and took him out at the end of the game. He's on the bench. No wonder he hit the transfer portal, and he's getting paid. So, and I'm pretty sure I saw that stat as well, the return in production. I'm pretty sure we were third in the conference at 30-something%. I'm trying to use my photographic memory here. But I saw that stat too. I'm like, man, maybe things aren't as bad as I thought. Yeah, Virginia brings everybody back that they didn't graduate. So they were at like 50-something%. But we were third on that list. Like North Carolina, all these other teams were way down there. So made me feel pretty good about that.
I will throw this in there at the end there. Just one last point on Heidi. I agree with you. The statistic, I always thought the same thing. Like when we landed him, I was like, this is our center option. But if you dive into like some of what they did systematically, they have Magoon Guath. I don't know if you know that name. That's the 7-foot center at San Diego State. And he is a big focal point of their offense. And that's kind of interesting that the 7-foot center is stretching out and hitting the three-pointer and playing some of the big moments for them. So honestly, they just let Guath do all the defensive rebounding and they let Heidi do all the offensive rebounding. So because Guath was out of the paint on offense, but he was in the paint on defense because he was one of the best shot blockers in the conference. So that's where you see the rebounding discrepancy with Heidi is he doesn't really grab defensive rebounds, but he's been really good on the offensive glass. I think he had like a 12% rebound rate on the offensive glass. So 12% of possessions were coming back to them from his offensive rebounding. So he was really getting them those, you have 80 possessions, you're getting 8 more possessions in a game from him getting those boards. So really, really impressive there. And that's maybe where you see the discrepancy in his rebounding stats is he wasn't the defensive guy. He was just not supposed to grab defensive boards at all.
I really hope we hold on to Ben Hammond for all 5 years. Or not even all 5 years. Just, I don't want Ben Hammond to go to another college. And Tyler Johnson. Like, I don't want to do the Sean Padula thing where, if he ever does make it in the pros, he's going to say he went to Ole Miss. Like, yeah. No, you didn't. You were here for like 3 years and Ole Miss for 1 or 2 or whatever it was. Like, please not with Ben Hammond. Please don't let him be here for 4 years and then transfer to Carolina for his 5th year and then wear Carolina for the rest of his career. No. But yeah, no, I had that thought as y'all were talking. Like, because shit, he has. Now with the new, well, I guess we'll go right into this. With the new 5-for-5 rule, Ben Hammond now has 3 years of eligibility left. He was a sophomore last year. So he still has 3 years left, which is mind-blowing. If I'm understanding the 5-for-5 rule correctly, it's most impactful for current players who have not used their redshirt year. If you have already used your redshirt year, it really doesn't change anything because you were doing 4 to play 5, and you're just kind of, sucks for you that you used a redshirt year. Which a redshirt, being able to play and take a red shirt just never added up to me. Like, red shirt means like you're not dressing for games. You're wearing a different shirt, so you can't play in the games. And if you take that red shirt off, that means you've played in a game and you lost it. Now, yeah, so we were always headed towards this at some point anyways when that you can play in 4 games thing happened. But let me see if I can bring it up really quick. I went through the roster and named the guys on the football team that it really affects.
I'll add this for basketball. You said Hammond. Another guy that maybe doesn't really have much of an NBA projection is Hansberry. He didn't use his red shirt, so he's a guy that could play 2 more years.
It's crazy.
At Virginia Tech now.
What and then that is so as much as we hate the current era, that's where the current era is incredible because a guy like Imani Hansberry, who at this point likely will never be a lottery pick, likely will never be a first round pick, probably will never be a draft pick. Now, I mean, he could make another $1 million coming back to Virginia Tech for a year where he might have gone to play overseas for 100,000, couple 100,000. So, like, yeah, maybe we do get a 24-year-old Imani Hansberry playing for us. And
if our football team is actually successful, they're going to have more money for basketball. Then we'll definitely keep these guys and surround them with a little bit more talent. So we just need this football thing to get rolling.
So
in the right direction.
I went through it. The true seniors this year are Caleb Spencer, pretty big deal if he were to come back, especially with where the linebacker room is. Aiden Green obviously would be huge if he came back. Jaquez White, who is maybe going to be one of the best corners in the conference, is what it looks like. Jordan Bass, another linebacker, safety type guy that we absolutely could use for another year. And Sherrod Koval was a top-ranked Virginia guy as a recruit. I don't think he's really caught on yet, but another year of him, I wouldn't be mad at it. And then the true juniors are Curtis Jones. I think he was a defensive end transfer from West Virginia this last year. And then Luke Reynolds is the other. I think he's the only other true junior on the team. So that could be this year and then 2 more for Luke Reynolds, which I wouldn't bet on that. I would imagine he goes pro after a good year or two. But from my quick scroll down through the roster, those were the only true seniors and true juniors on the team. But what is probably for a reason, they're all pretty big contributors, which it's probably because they were big contributors as freshmen is why they didn't redshirt. So it stands to reason that they don't have a redshirt left. But this is hugely impactful for those guys.
Yeah, absolutely agree. A guy like, even a Benji Gosnell, I think he used his red shirt, but I guess there was still the potential for him to play longer or something like that. I saw that talking about like him being able to stay for 1 more year. Was he on that list?
You might have seen me post that, and I think that was wrong. Just for whatever reason, I read Benji as a true senior, but he did redshirt.
Okay.
So
yeah, he did. I always thought the same thing. Whenever he was playing for us, I was like, oh yeah, he hasn't been here. But that was just because he was on the red shirt, and then his brother transferred here, after he in the program.
So I think no matter what, this is Benji's last year.
And you were mentioning some of the guys that can maybe go to the league, and that may be why we lose them. I mean, it feels like Luke Reynolds is absolutely in that trajectory. This is a guy that I wrote my article about breakout players of Virginia Tech this year, and I think a lot of people understand how good Luke Reynolds is, but if you look at his stats, he really hasn't broke out yet. He only had 240 yards last year at Penn State. But I think that
he's had less than 30 catches in his career.
Right, exactly. I think that's where his potential is. I mean, it's unbelievable because he was our leading receiver, first of all, in the spring game. He only played a very small amount of time at the beginning of that game, and him and Grunkemeyer were immediately – they were just the best – it was the best duo on the field. He had a crazy one-handed catch. You know how we're going to use tight ends in this system. This system has produced tight end after tight end after tight end to the NFL. So, yeah, I mean, love to keep Luke Reynolds around. Think this is the kind of guy that you could lose literally this year. I mean, there is some talks of him being top-end tight end talent in this upcoming class if everything goes his way this year. But, yeah, awesome that we can get a lot of these guys back. And I hope they're good enough to where they go because then that just gives us more representation in the NFL, and that makes prospects want to play for you even more. So that could all be good for us.
Yeah, Luke Reynolds just got projected first team All ACC. So we're not the only ones who see that, that diamond in the rough that we got right there. So I think everybody kind of sees a breakout year from him, especially in James Franklin's offense that utilizes the tight end so much.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. I think the most key piece to the 2026 Virginia Tech football team is Ty Howell.
Yep.
It's can he do it as an offensive coordinator? Certainly seems like he has the pieces that he should know how to make them work. He's got a bigger offensive line than Virginia Tech has had in probably 10 years. He has a quarterback that can throw the ball. He's got at least 2 good running backs, maybe 3. And he's got the tight ends out to yin yang. I mean, Benji Gosnell has been one of our best players over the last few years. Luke Reynolds, Jerikas Harrison might have been our best player last year, and he was a walk-on at some point. So that room is loaded. Henderson is going to be a true freshman. He's really good. And then no. Henderson is sophomore, redshirt freshman. He was a transfer from Penn State. And then Peterson is the true freshman, who apparently he just won some track medal or something as like a super fast dude. So that room is just stacked from top to bottom. And I mean, you got a quarterback that can get the ball out. I'm excited for it. I think we're going to see a passing game like we haven't seen. I was going back through when. I guess we don't know, obviously. So when is the last time we had a quarterback that you would say is a good passer?
Rod Evans.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what
obviously Hendon Hooker did it somewhere else.
Yeah.
But when he was here, he wasn't like, some great passer. It was Gerard. And, all right, when is the last time that we had a good pocket passing quarterback?
Michael Brewer, maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe? That depends on how you define good. He was fine, but we won like 6 games a year with him.
Yeah. Yeah, to pause on your point, I'm not worried about Ty Howell. When I've heard James Franklin talk, he's got his hands on this offense, former offensive coordinator at Maryland. Like, that's how he got his first head coaching job at Vanderbilt. He's not going to let this fail. I've got the bright lights around Brent Pry. Love the guy. He's Hokie through and through, but I'm worried about defensive in-depth. I'm worried about linebacker play. Tyson Flowers had a rough year last year, and he's like our leader. So I have way more question marks, and I'm more worried about the defense. And obviously Brent Pry knows, like, I just got fired, and I'll get fired again real quick if I suck. So his butt's on fire a little bit. So hopefully we don't got to worry about nothing. But for me, watching or seeing the spring game, the highlights, everything, I'm a little bit more worried about the defense. Just because of anything.
I can absolutely agree with you there. Because of personnel, like you said, the depth, the linebackers. I think the DBs will be fine, but across the D-line, again, both levels there. The D-line, I mean, we got Kamari Copeland. That's like the proven guy, and that's pretty much it. And then linebackers, again, nothing really standing out. Nobody that's like, that's the guy. Caleb Spencer's been fine. Noah Chambers showed some flash last year. But no, like, no Rayshard Ashby guy type coming back. That was probably the last really good. Was he since Tremaine? I don't know. It's been a while since we've had a guy like that at middle linebacker. But what gives me hope, a little bit more reassurance, at least I don't think I'm more worried about the play calling on the offense. Pride has been a defensive coordinator and was a good defensive coordinator really not that long ago, like 3 years ago. And he was still obviously involved. I think he called the plays on defense his first year. So he's only 2 years removed from calling plays. This is Ty Howell's first time running an offense and accepting like maybe an interim role or something a few years back. But I am much more confident in the personnel on offense. And that's what James Franklin was saying in his introductory press conference. It doesn't matter what play you call. If you got Saquon Barkley back there, he's gonna make something out of nothing. So yeah, I mean, I think there's reasons to be optimistic and there's reasons to be worried for the 2026 season. I think it's all over the place.
Yeah, and I want to throw this in there too. I absolutely agree with both points that you guys made. I think on the play calling end of things, much more worried about Ty Howe because he just hasn't done it at this level. And I'm not so worried about the offense. Honestly, I'm not that worried about the offense at all. And maybe that's just me being too high on some guys, but I think the running back room is one of our strongest positions. It's a group of guys that I trust. I trust Bill Davis when we get to that goal line. I trust Jeff Overton whenever he wants the football in his hand. And Marcellus Hawkins averaged 6.2 yards per carry on a team that every single person in the country knew we were running the football.
I've seen some people say he's Sunday talent.
Yeah, I absolutely think he is. I think he's that good. You don't do what you did on a bad football team when everybody knows you're getting the ball unless you've got some talent. And it's not like that offensive line in front of him was some super team up there. They got some good players. There's some talent there. There's some guys that can get better, but Hawkins was doing a lot of that on his own. And so that's maybe why I'm less worried about the offense. I'm worried about the play calling. That is concerning. The offense, I think, is going to be awesome. I'm on Ferguson's side with the impact, the problem that could come from this. If Brent Pry has a bad game, he still has some of his haters, and I was never one. We were never one. Our podcast was as big of a supporter of Brent Pry as you could possibly be. We all hated when we saw him get fired. We knew it was the right decision, but you're just a guy that never really – he wasn't Justin Fuente. Let's just put it like that. I'll leave it there. Not a big fan of Justin Fuente. I never hated Brent Pry. So I think that there's going to be people, though, that do not like him because of what they saw last year, and they're going to hate on him if the team has one bad game. If we give up 3 touchdowns to VMI and ODU combined, people might be complaining. So that's just where I think that if it gets under his skin, if it does bother him to hear that, and maybe it won't. Maybe he's so locked in on football now that he doesn't care about the outside noise, and he has the experience in that role. And so whereas I think the defense could be the question mark because of some of the personnel, I trust the play calling. I trust the coaching staff over there. I mean, we have Sean Spencer, who is the best defensive line coach in college football potentially. We have a lot of guys in that secondary room that have coached in the NFL, that have coached at high levels. So I trust all that staff to get our defense right. And maybe that was a big part of James Franklin's plan, was let me hire the best defensive staff I can put together because I know those guys can get my players right on that side, and I'll worry about offense. Let them handle everything over there. I'm hiring every single guy that I've worked with that I trust, that are proven guys that have done this at the higher level or at the college level really successfully, and let me handle offense. Let me figure out how to get Ty Howe and let his scheme work for us. And so I think that the concern maybe on the defense talent-wise and the concern on the offensive side is more the play calling and not the talent. But I don't think either one of them are huge problems for some of the teams we play this year. And I'm actually kind of glad that the schedule lines up the way it does because it's almost perfect for Franklin to be able to bring these guys together, play these two teams that VMI, again, no disrespect to them, that should be a blowout. And Old Dominion, a team that has our number, absolutely has our number, but James Franklin doesn't lose those kinds of games. He doesn't lose to those kinds of teams, and it's another game for him just to show everybody, hey, I'm here. This is my offense. This is my team. And then we can roll into that first game against a power team. And so I think everything could just perfectly plan up for us to be rolling right into what we want to be into. And there's a way that this team could start the gate 4-0 pretty easily, as long as you don't lose a game to Maryland at Maryland. So the concerns could all be addressed within the first 4 weeks, and then we don't have to worry about those kinds of things. But I agree with both of your guys' points on those two things.
Yeah, I think, like you said, the schedule, I was going to tap right into that. That's a big reason why we kept the VMI game. I know a lot of people wanted to drop it, get a big premier prime time. I think it was Ty Howe. Like, hey, I'm going to be in the headset with you. I'm going to nix this play call. They brought Rocco over as an analyst who has a ton of experience. I think they're going to be in his ear a lot, and you would make some good adjustments. If you can't, James Franklin might make the play calls come Maryland week, but I think that leads up to a good thing. Also, with the transfer portal, I really like the pieces we brought in on offense that are impact guys right away. We brought some linemen in. We bought Bill Davis at running back. We bought Queso Brown at wide receiver, Luke Reynolds at tight end. We got a quarterback in Grunkemeyer. We got these key pieces. We didn't get that on defense. We got White as a cornerback. We were able to keep Copeland, but we needed to bring in a stud defensive end. We need to bring in a stud linebacker. And then I wouldn't be saying anything, we didn't go get those key guys who are going to fill in a hole. We got Wiley at linebacker, who's got some experience, but he's not proven. You got Hilson at defensive end who's a 5-star guy, but no proven talent. So I would have liked 2 more guys in the transfer portal that could have filled the defensive end and linebacker spot, and I would be a lot more comfortable right now because we got to rely on coaching right now. And I do think this coaching staff is much better. We were talking about it before the pod was live, that Witt hired a first-time coach and he let him hire first-time coordinators, but also we didn't have the money to get proven coordinators. So it just goes in circles. Well, we got the money now. And we got good coaches. We got good assistant coaches and coordinators. Did we have enough money in the portal to get good players? So I think it's going to be they're going to have to really develop. They're going to have to coach hard, put in the right spot because I don't know if the talent is there. It could be. James Franklin really set us up for success in the years to come. A lot of these defensive guys were our freshmen, redshirt freshmen. They brought in from Penn State. Some of these defensive linemen look really good, but they're young. But we got to develop them. I think defense huge is going to be development. I'm not worried about Brent Price play calling. I'm worried about personnel.
Yeah, I have one more thing there to that. I'm so glad that the one group I feel the best about on the defense is that secondary. Those corners specifically. That cornerback room, we're talking about could be one of the best in the ACC. That's a group of corners that are very, very good. Jaquez White was chased by every single major program. We beat out Tennessee to get him. You see Cam Chadwick transfer him, had a really good season last year. Isaiah Brown-Murray was really good last year. One of the bright shining spots of that defense was him being just an absolute lockdown corner. And he doesn't have to play that uncomfortable outside position if he doesn't want to anymore because then they can throw him in that slot where he's just perfect. That's the perfect player in the slot. So I'm glad that the secondary is going to be really good because if anything, you can fall back on your pass defense. Let your pass defense make plays for you. Maybe you get a lot of interceptions from these types of guys to turn things over. And maybe we do get gashed in the run game some here and there. Maybe we don't have the best pass rush, but we can fall back on that secondary. And so, if anything, I'm glad that's the experienced group.
And they're deep, too. You got Joshua Clark, Polidor, they're saying is like the next Mansour Delane that he would start as a freshman if we weren't so deep. I mean, they got guys moving to safety that probably would have started at corner. And IBM gets to probably just sit on the nickel. And, if we're not in a nickel package, they'll probably start him at corner. He's that good. Those corners are comfortable. But after Copeland, Fall, Laws is hurt right now. That D-line is pretty thin. Defensive end, you got Asen Stevens and Hilson who have zero proven anything. You got some Derek Dandy and you got some skinnier, lankier guys out there. I don't know. I'm with you. I really like those corners. I really like Josh Clark. I remember him, not this spring game, but the last spring game that I was at, his length. He's got like long arms for his size. I just remember him getting PBUs and I think he might end up starting for us, but I really, really like his potential.
I think one thing that's being underappreciated that is probably for good reason because Virginia Tech fans just are not used to this. The analysts that we have on the staff now are absolutely ridiculous. It's I don't know if people know, but 10 years ago, your 10 on-field coaches were your coaches. There were restrictions to like who could be involved in practice, who could be on the sideline. Those are all gone these days. You can bring in anybody off the street and he can come in and be involved in practice, be on the sideline. The only difference these days in your 10 on-field coaches and anybody else are just recruiting, like who can go out on the road. That is, from what I understand, the only difference. So you look down through
Warren Ruggiero. How did I not name him? Like, he was the Wake Forest offensive where he invented the slow mesh.
So
you're worried about how he might just hand it over to Warren Ruggiero.
Wake Forest's offensive coordinator for 10 years on this staff. Blake's exactly right. He invented the slow mesh, that good Wake Forest offense for so long. We hired away, I think, Danny Rocco, who was a sitting head coach of VMI. Now, they were 1-11 last year, so it probably wasn't a very tough conversation with VMI that he was going to move on, but still hired his son, David Rocco, who has been an analyst at Penn State. Whatever. I just read it. Here it is. He was there was a word I liked. He was offensive assistant quality control. Where does it say what he was at Liberty? I mean, was he not at Penn State? Offensive analyst and analytics coordinator. That's the analytics is what I was looking for. So David Rocco's the analytics guy. Was at Penn State for 4 years. Yeah, there we go. We got, let's see, Josh Conklin. He was a Wofford head coach for a few years. Like there are head coaches up and down the staff, and like I'm sure I'm cutting some people short, but like there are so many guys on. There's like 40 guys on this list that can all be on-field coaches now. And like that rule changed a few years ago, but Virginia Tech did not change with that rule. You know, sure, we had like Jerry Kill who came in and was doing that, but we did not have guys everywhere at every position. Like we have Cam Phillips as an assistant wide receivers coach now. We didn't have that 3 years ago. Like every position has an assistant coach. Like what? That I think we are going to see rewards from even just that, just those more minds in the building than we're used to, than we've ever seen before, just because the guys are there.
Yeah. And if just to expand on that point, I like Tech Sideline. I read their stuff. I watch their podcast. The Bud Foster podcast has really tapped into that. I mean, he was going to Ole Miss to teach them offensive principles, and they got all these analysts and assistant coaches, and he's like, man, we're better than this team, but we're doing way more with less. He's like, I can't believe how many guys they got out here. When you hear these stories and you hear he was leaving with Frank to go to North Carolina, but that's what it took the university to put into football, to build their indoor facility, was everybody was leaving and they made this push. Well, that was the last time they put into athletics, and we fell behind again, just because they were winning, they fell behind. They didn't have any staff. So they act like they're leaving, or they were going to leave for North Carolina. They matched their contracts. They put into it. Well, it took us winning 3 games, firing our coach, and to get a guy like James Franklin, he made us catch up and even be in the top. He said, I need a $30 million NIL roster. I need this many assistant coaches and analysts and this for my pool for coaches. So he's helping us push back up to where everybody else is at and in front of a lot of people.
My thought on that is, yes, James Franklin absolutely doing all of that. And we would not be where we are today if it weren't for him. But to give a little bit of kudos to Witt, who is out the door now, and to the Board of Visitors, who back in August made this decision to step up. I've told a couple of people just in passing that, yes, we're excited about James Franklin, and maybe 90% of the reason we're excited is because of James Franklin. But James Franklin is a symptom of the cause. If it weren't for that presentation that Witt gave, if it weren't for the Board of Visitors approving the invest to win, if it wasn't for these different donors saying they'd step up if things got right, then we never would have gotten James Franklin. He said time and time again, the reason he took this job is because there was a plan in place, that he could have went to Arkansas with all the ungodly money in the world. So
Dude,
just
Jay Pearson.
Yes.
I think, I mean, we owe him so much, dude. He's on that Board of Visitors. Witt would not be retiring. He wouldn't be leaving if he would have got this money that White has now as AD. But Jay Pearson, man, he's the one who's pushed for so much financially, stepping up. He wants us to join that. He's trying to set us up in position to join the SEC. He's been very vocal about that. But I think we owe, like you said, like, thank you, James Franklin. But because he had his list of demands that we met, probably because of Jay Pearson. I mean, I think he's really pushed for a lot of stuff to get us where we need to go.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and add this in there now, just because we have talked to AD, we've talked to Whit Babcock. Just talking about Brian White quickly. I will give the props to Whit Babcock. I've openly been a Whit Babcock, not hater, but not a fan, I'll say. But I think a lot of people were like that because just things did not go right. I don't think that he necessarily was always putting his best foot forward, and I think that maybe was part of the problem. I think that he maybe sat on this for a little bit too long and kind of knew we were needing to head in this direction and just maybe didn't push for it. And heck, maybe part of that wasn't his fault. Maybe that was coming from higher ups that weren't allowing him to do such things. So that could have been something else, but I'll give him his props for this because he did a phenomenal job presenting this. He presented something, swung our entire athletic program in this direction.
One little props to him. His first basketball and the football hires were quote unquote good hires. Yeah. He hired Justin Fuente, which sure didn't work out, but like maybe wasn't Witt's fault that it didn't work out. But that was seen as like one of the best hires in that carousel. And then he hired Buzz Williams, who, all accounts was a great hire for Virginia Tech. Now his follow-up hires, I don't know. His timing of when to fire, his follow through, his whatever. Yeah, it was time for him to move on. But, and again, I've said this too. I've said this time and time again, a couple times. If there's one thing he deserves credit for, it's not running our finances into the ground. There are a lot of schools, tens, hundreds of millions of dollars in debt that Virginia Tech is not. We operated in the green last year, which, somebody said, what's $5 million we should have spent some other way, which, hey, fine. But Virginia Tech athletics operated in a $5 million surplus last year, which that's unheard of across the country. Yeah. So, I'm glad he's moved on. He wasn't the worst an AD could be, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, look at Florida State. Look at the hole they're in. They quite literally could not fire their coach because they could not afford the buyout. It was impossible. They were like, they made it pretty apparent. We want to fire him. We just can't afford to fire him. So he's going to be here until that contract runs out. So, yeah, I'll give him his props on that. The money side of things, he seemed to be able to at least understand that and keep us in a good spot. He maybe could have done more, but at least he didn't do less. At least he didn't put us further in like you said, in the red, or put us in a hole somewhere that we just couldn't dig out of. Quickly to throw some props at Brian White, because I know some people kind of said, oh, we're getting the athletic director from Florida Atlantic. Well, props to Florida Atlantic because this is the guy that hired Dusty May, the new head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. So pretty good basketball hire, I'd say, and I would argue that might be the first job he has to hire at Virginia Tech. It may be coming very soon, so maybe the right guy to do a basketball head coach hire. And maybe we have someone on the inside that's already pretty good. I know we all kind of feel that we have a coach on the staff that's a really solid guy that can line up and take that job. But this is the right guy to at least look at that and say, man, I've got experience of hiring a guy who went from Florida Atlantic to winning games and getting to the Final Four to going to a national championship and now coaching in the NBA. And he did that in a span of, 8 years? 2018, I believe, is when he was hired, and now he's 2026 in the NBA. So he knows how to find talent. I think that's a big thing to give him props for. And I think another thing that people kind of want to harp on and maybe look at and say it's not that great is the football side of things. Not the best record at FAU. They actually had a losing record during that time. But it's also Florida Atlantic, and maybe basketball kind of seemed to be the forefront, the thing that they cared more about. Clearly later on with Dusty May, they were really pushing into basketball and how they could do there. But I don't think that's a concern at Virginia Tech because we have a head coach who's an athletic director for football. So I don't really think he's going to have to worry too much about how football goes. And I think that really what he's here for is the business side of things. And if you listen to his press conference, that was very apparent. Made it very clear. He said, first of all, I love the way our resources are going. We need to grow the resources. He said the number needs to keep going up. This is not we got $240 million in 4 years. What are we going to do in the fifth year? This is we got $240 the next 4. We need another $240 come in the next 4. It's that thing that he says. He said resources are critical for success, and my goal is to continuously grow those resources. So I think that he is going to be so front and center on the business side of things and how to run business that I don't think football is that big of a concern for him. He's going to work on how do we get the other 21 sports in the place that we want them to be and let football be handled by James Franklin and Andy Frank, a group that have pretty good firm control on how football should be ran. Another thing that I think is important is he was successful in his time and his tenure at Missouri. That is an SEC school. That is at a big power program, and maybe he wasn't running things, but he was working in that program with them, and so that helped him out. One of the things he really gave credit to in his press conference was his time at both of those places has kind of shaped him in both sides of things. Said really nice to get the business advantage there and then the athletic advantage at Florida Atlantic, and it brought him to where he's at now. Obviously, he was hyping up the history of Virginia Tech, talking about how things were awesome, and they may not be that way right now, but there's clearly a chance to return to that. He also talked about the game day atmosphere and how that was something he was really going to focus on. And so for a lot of fans out there, I know that that's been a big talk is, man, we need a lot of improvements to Lane Stadium. It's already an awesome atmosphere, but imagine if we can change some things. Imagine if we can, and again, these are silly little things that you don't think are that important, but if you could get Wi-Fi in a stadium and you can start throwing up a barcode that people could scan on their phone, that's just one more thing that advertises the football team, that gets media posts, get media attention. Those are all things that he wants to press for and improve, and I think that's really important to see him kind of working on that more than anything. And then they obviously asked him, what was your plan if you didn't get into this? Because his entire family does this. And he was like, my dad actually said, don't do this. Don't get into this industry. And he said, Dad, it's too fun. I got to do this. And so we have a guy that loves his job. He wants to be doing this. And again, not to hate on Whit Babcock, there felt like times where maybe he was a little bit checked out. Maybe he just wasn't as involved as he probably should have been. It seems like Brian White is clearly ready to do it, and he's got people in his corner that absolutely know what they're doing, one of which is at Tennessee as an athletic director, one of which that was a dad that was very successful as an athletic director and worked in that field in athletics. So I think the kind of closing statement he said was there is unlimited upside at Virginia Tech. And that's something that every Virginia Tech fan wants to hear is there's unlimited upside because there's no cap. There is no, we've hit the ceiling. That's as far as we can go. There's the thought that we could get better and to continuously get better. So even though things are heading in the right direction, you got to keep going in the direction. You got to keep pursuing greatness or getting better at what you're doing. Seems like the kind of guy that, on the business front especially, he's going to push for that. He's going to push for proper investment, and it kind of feels like a guy that could be doing this job for a really long time. He's not that old. So I really like the hire. I think it makes perfect sense when you have the gurus that you have on the football side of things to let him get money right for every other sport.
I've kind of interpreted this hire as you're not making a football hire. For one, we have the athletics committee on the BOV now that seems like they made the James Franklin hire, so I kind of anticipate that to continue. But this hire was made because of his money-raising background. He increased FAU's donations by 625% from 2021 to 2026. So not only have we gotten $95 million here recently, not only have we gotten then another 100-ish on top of that from university support, but also we now have a new vehicle to spend that money in Hokie Ventures, which, if I've read it right, the athletic director is going to sit on the board of that and have a lot of say in how to spend that money. So not only are we getting more money, but we're also going to have a new avenue to spend that money, and you would think a lot easier time spending that money on whatever it is. It seems like things are not going to have to go to the BOV or the governor or whoever the hell has to sign off on big purchases. I'm not going to act like I know how that process worked before, but it seems like the reason for Hokie Ventures is to make all of that easier and to give the athletic director, I could be wrong here, but I think I've read, basically discretionary funds so he can spend it how he sees fit. And of course, the CEO of Hokie Ventures is going to have his hands in that, but I imagine those two offices aren't going to be very far apart. I imagine the CEO of Hokie Ventures and our athletic director and James Franklin are all going to work very closely together in how to spend this money, where it goes, and all that good stuff. Blake, have you read up much on Hokie Ventures? I know you're from South Carolina. We kind of modeled it off of Clemson Ventures.
I hadn't read too much up other than it was LLC for a day. That was a typo, but no. But to just put my 2 cents in the AD situation, I always liked Whit. Like you said, he made good hires. I feel like he was always hampered by our financial situation. He obviously could have done more or better if we had better finances that he didn't have, that Brian White is going to have. But I thought it was just time for a change anyway. I like Brian White, great family. We've talked about his brothers at Tennessee. We didn't talk about his other brother, Mike White, was at Florida. Now he's at Georgia, doing a great job with them. We talked about his dad. He was a great athletic director at Notre Dame and at Duke. So, decision making, you're not worried about that, man. He's got great people to lean on. Bring back the Battle of Bristol. And obviously he's a great fundraiser, like we just talked about. I mean, I think that's a win-win. He's a young guy, athletic family. I think it was a A+ hire. I'm excited about it. I don't care if he came from FAU. He was taking a power forward job eventually, his trajectory and what he was doing. Mike, you said it before we even got started. Probably the most impressive thing on his resume, I can't believe you didn't say it. I was going to let you say it, was not that he hired Dusty May, but is that he retained and was able to keep Dusty May after going to a Final Four. He got him to come back another year. I mean, to FAU, everybody wanted him, and he got him to come back another year. I mean, that obviously coaches want to coach for him. Everybody you heard that they've got references from just had nothing but raving and positive reviews from him. So I'm super excited to have him. I think he's going to do a great job. He's got awesome incentives if football does well. So that's what we all want, and then that's going to reflect on, as an athletic director myself, I'm not just a basketball coach. I'm the athletic director over 33 sports. When they hired me, they said, hey, we want you to get every other sport on the same level as basketball, because that's the only sport we're consistently winning championships at. And it's tough, but the first thing you got to do is get the right coaches in order. And I think he's got a great group to choose from. I think Witt did a good job. We haven't even talked about women's basketball, but Witt got Kenny Brooks, who was amazing. And then Megan Duffy's been good as well. She just, like she's publicly said, she needs some more money.
Yeah, I think we'll start wrapping up here. We're about an hour, but I think the thought that I'd like to leave people with is James Franklin has done nothing to show that he is not planning on being at Virginia Tech long term. He obviously is pouring everything in. He's bringing these kids in, stepping all in recruiting, putting his fingerprints all over the place, talking about the improvements that need to be made. But the most recent cherry on top for me is, from all reports, he was very involved in the athletic director hire. And he handpicked a young, hungry athletic director. Seems to me like that's a guy that James Franklin is excited about working with for the long term. And James Franklin has been given the freedom. Nobody's, as far as I know, nobody's telling him no yet. Like, anything he's asked for, everybody's like, yeah, we need that. Yeah, yes, you're right. So I know that one of the common chirps early when we got him is like, oh, you win 9 years, he'll be gone year one. I'm just not seeing it right now. We saw that from Buzz Williams as soon as he walked in the door, that he was looking for his next job. You saw that with Lane Kiffin, wherever he is. He's looking for his next job. Now, obviously, it's not James Franklin's first offseason yet. He just took the job. So, maybe we do see that next spring. Maybe we do hear reports that he's talking whatever. But it doesn't feel like that yet. It doesn't feel like that yet to me.
Yeah, and to throw on your point there, just another thing that makes you feel good about that is, do all these guys that have these really good jobs leave these jobs to come join him here if they don't have some strategy to be here for at least a little bit? Sean Spencer just left Texas A&M, which is a school that can buy whatever player they want on the defensive line. Go look at the recruiting class right now. They have 7 5-stars. You don't leave that job if you're not confident that the guy you're going to join is going to be there for at least a little bit. You need some stability. And you got guys that come from the NFL. This is a job. They come down a level. They come to college and said, yeah, we want to coach with you. So I think there's a lot of positive signs right there as well. All that kind of points to him at least being here for those contracts, for those coach contracts. And I think a lot of them signed those 3-year deals. So it feels like he's at least going to fix the program. And I feel like if things are going in the right direction, there's a world where he stays here because he's getting up there in age a little bit. He's already had the experience of being some other places. He's tried 2 other conferences, and this might be the conference he's in that he has the best chance to win it pretty consistently. If you get to be a really good coach in this conference, there's not a lot of teams right now that are just all on top of the world. So I think it's, and again, this is just me. I'm a Virginia Tech fan, so I'm going to say this. It feels like a pretty good job to be at right now. It feels like everybody's behind you. Like you said, he got to pretty much pick his athletic director. What university lets their head coach pick the athletic director unless they think he's going to be there? So it just feels like things are heading in the right direction, and it feels like the university's surrounding him with, yes, 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 we want you here. Do not leave us. And absolutely agree with you. It feels like he's going to be here for at least a few years, and it could be the thing that he stays with. It could be where he's at. It could just be his program. And hey, maybe they throw another statue out front or something if we 10 years down the road have a little bit more success. But yeah, it feels like that's the direction we're heading with him. Is he's at least here for the short term, and it feels like the short term is longer than a year or two.
Yeah, definitely. I go back to the first press conference. I saw him on game day. He's like, I'm looking for a school, and I want to win a national championship wherever I go. That's my goal, and that's what I'm going to do wherever I go. And he went to Virginia Tech. And the first thing I thought of when we jumped into the top 10 in recruiting rankings, I'm like, if you can do it here, why would you leave for anywhere else? If you can recruit in the top 10 in the country at Virginia Tech, why would you want to go anywhere else? Obviously, in my brain, the one thing that says why I would go anywhere else is resources. LSU has somehow unlimited resources. Schools like that might be able to put more money and you can get whoever you want, would be the only reason. But I think he's a committed guy. If you look at his past with just Vanderbilt and Penn State, he was at Penn State for 12 years. I think he wants to do something special. I think he's going to be here a while. And yes, he's the most powerful athletics person on campus, even though his title's not above athletic director. Yes, he is. And he made that hire. I think he's going to be around here a long time. And I pray he is. Wrapping up, shout out Logan Thomas, inducted to the Hall of Fame. I lived in Lynchburg for 6 years. I would have went to Brookville if we had to move. So I really liked him from the get-go. Sat behind Tyrod a couple years, had a great career, just trucking guys over at quarterback, an awesome career transitioning to tight end in the NFL. So couldn't be happier for him. So congrats to Logan Thomas. And, we dabbled on a little bit, but, man, we not much. The recruits that we got right now. The class we have right now. I mean, we've never seen anything like this ever. Frank had a couple really good years, but
we'll dig into those more in probably our next one. We'll do a season preview and a recruiting class one. That deserves a lot more time than we have right now.
Yeah. I gotta throw a quick shout out to Thomas as well. I knew that was something I had to say at the end. I mean, my very first thing that was posted on VT Scoop when I signed with them was, one of the questions was, what's your top four? Who's your top four? Logan Thomas was my number one guy on my Mount Rushmore. This is a guy that he is what shaped my fandom, and I'm a little bit younger, so maybe that's why I saw that 2009 to 2013 stretch of time, and that was just, he was the guy. And we also played Brookville, and he ran for 300 yards in one game. So my high school got destroyed by Logan Thomas. I then watched him go to college and destroy other guys. And so it just created a love for Virginia Tech football. So I have to give him a shout out because I loved when I saw that today. I mean, literally made me so happy to see that player who has been my favorite Virginia Tech athlete to get inducted into that. And I think that the boards, they treated him well. They were nice about it. They were like, but then there was guys that were like, why would you put Logan Thomas on there? And I feel like we just disrespect him a little bit too much. Don't disrespect this guy, man. He was awesome for us. I know he wasn't always the best passing quarterback in the world, and yeah, he made some boneheaded decisions here and there, but the dude had almost 10,000 yards passing. He did have over 10,000 yards when you factor in his rushing. He had 53 total touchdowns, 24 of which were on the ground. This is a guy that was a really good player at times at Virginia Tech. Had a season where he almost threw for 3,000 yards on top of being one of the better rushing quarterbacks. I think he has maybe like two of our few 5 touchdown games from one player because of the passing and rushing. So, yeah, absolutely had to give him a shout out. So happy he makes the Hall of Fame for Virginia Tech. I think he absolutely deserved it. Made me a fan. So I think that there's one guy at least that's a huge fanboy for Logan Thomas. Also, really cool moment. He caught that first touchdown in the NFL from Tyrod Taylor. So how much more perfect could that have been? That his NFL catch was from a Hokie. He bleeds Virginia Tech, maroon and orange. That is Logan Thomas. So, yeah, love him. And for as many times as people thought there was problems or maybe didn't love him, you didn't lose my fan. I was always a fan of Logan Thomas. May or may not have been on a few of my fantasy football teams growing up as well as a tight end in the NFL. That might not have been my strongest decision, but the fandom took over there. Love Logan Thomas and definitely needed to give him the shout out there.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I was born 97, so Logan Thomas is the first quarterback when I was like really locked in. Like I remember Sean Glennon, Tyrod Taylor were like the first ones that I remember. I don't remember too many before them. But yeah, Logan Thomas was right there in the thick of when I was really getting into Virginia Tech football. And then
Don't make me slow.
Yeah. Then Michael Brewer in 15 is when I started going. So that's when I was 18 years old. So it was a few years after. But was it somebody in between Logan Thomas and Michael Brewer for a year maybe? I don't remember. Oh, we lost Jacob. Now I gotta Google it that I said it.
Hold on, light skinned guy.
We got you back, Jacob.
Still here.
Did you hear what I said?
No, what did you say?
Was there a quarterback between Logan Thomas and Michael Brewer?
Oh gosh, well that'd have been like what 2014.
No, would be 13.
13. I thought that was 13.
Who was the quarterback when we beat Purdue really bad?
That was Michael Brewer. No, it went straight Logan Thomas and Michael Brewer.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Brendan Motley for part of 2015 when
That's what I was thinking of, Brendan Motley.
Yep. That's when Ohio State 2015 I was at that one. He broke his collarbone.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Debated putting Brendan Motley on my Mount Rushmore and knew I would hate that.
I would come after you for that one.
I love Logan Thomas, but he's not on my Mount Rushmore.
But here's what I have to say about Motley. Still was a little kid at the point in time. Went to a spring game. They would let us on the field. The kids would go on the field.
Yeah.
Brendan Motley had a wristband on that he was like, I was begging for stuff from players. Like, God, give me something. Just throw me something. And a lineman gave me a glove. I was a lineman myself, so that meant a lot. But Brendan Motley takes off the wristband. He was like, I've wore this for 3.5 years and have not taken it off. And he was like, you're asking for something. Nobody's giving you something. Here it is. So that sits in my room to this day. So, yeah, Brendan Motley didn't do anything at Virginia Tech, but really good dude. Really good dude. Love the player. Love the person, I should say.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
and he's a guy who here his whole career. I love those guys that are committed like me.
Yep. Congratulations, Logan Thomas. We're excited for it. Well, that's mostly Hokies. We'll get back to y'all middle of July. We'll probably do a season preview and a recruiting class wrap up. I'm sure the class will be. It's already pretty mostly finished, but if we get any couple late guys, we'll have them on there too. But yeah, thank y'all so much for listening. We'll catch y'all next time.
All right.